This episode is brought to you by National Geographic, presenting its new documentary film, Endurance. Follow the greatest survival story ever told, unpacking the legendary feat of polar explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton, who kept his crew alive for over a year, despite losing their ship in frigid pack ice. Over a century later, a team of modern-day explorers set out to find the sunken ship. Endurance, now streaming on Hulu and Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hey everyone, welcome to Spin, Shuffle, Skip on the There Can Only Be One podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Now, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do on any of my shows, really. I'm going to get loud for a second. So if you have your headphones on, you might want to turn the volume down a little bit. I do my best to maintain or, to cap my volume. So I know I don't destroy your ears, but this is going to happen. This is happening now. So be prepared. You ready? Let's get ready to rumble! Because it's time to talk about the soundtrack to Ready to Rumble. And here, ready to rumble himself, Lyle Robichaud from AM 640 Toronto. Lyle, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing just great, Jason. It is wrestling time on the show. Oh, I've been waiting for this a long time to get into this movie's orbit on this podcast network. So I am very excited.
Now, we need to paint a picture for our dear listeners because the wrestling landscape today is very different from when this album and this movie came out. So please,
thank God.
Let our listeners know. Paint a picture for us. Bring us back to the year 2000 and the wrestling world.
The year 2000 in wrestling was what can only be described as the roughest transition you could physically imagine for a show. WCW was in its dying breaths. WWE was the clear winner of the Monday Night Wars, but even they were starting to kind of pull up and get out of the very adult content and back into kind of what brought them to the dance of just like family-oriented entertainment. But specifically for WCW, which birthed the movie on which the soundtrack we're talking on is based off of, was looking for absolutely any scrap of cash they could get their hands on because their product was dying and the wrestling was just at a very low point at the time. Unless you are one of the hardest of hardcore fans, you were not watching 2000 WCW.
I mean, we don't always agree. Whether you're a wrestling fan or not, we don't always agree with who is the title holder at the time. And one could argue that the very existence of this film is a reason why at one point in time, David freaking Arquette was the WCW champion.
Not just the WCW champion. He held what many people call the big gold belt, which is technically speaking the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship that was held by Ric Flair, Harley Race, the legend. This is a whole nother tangent, but the fact that he has his name on that lineage, even if you just count WCW World Heavyweight Championship, is completely back insane. Like, it's insane to look at his name on the timeline still next to Ric Flair, Sting, Booker T, Goldberg, even though he hurt people, he was still great. And then you have David Arquette, who couldn't weigh 80 pounds, soaking wet and wearing a concrete coat. Like, it's crazy to think about.
But tell me how you really feel.
Thankfully, I will say, I don't know if you know this, but David Arquette has put in the work to make up for this mistake. He got professionally trained and even very recently wrestled on some indie shows and put on a full match and did it correctly, learned how to bump, took the chair shots. He has redeemed himself in many wrestling fans' eyes because the reason he did that and the reason that he did this movie was because he was a huge wrestling fan. So I will give him that.
I mean, say what you will about it, but it's still a world better than if that belt was being worn by Andy Kaufman.
That is true.
But we're talking about the soundtrack to this film, and released in April 11th, 2000. 24 years old, this movie.
Which makes me feel old.
Because, yeah. But the soundtrack is definitely something that stands the test of time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the Ready to Rumble soundtrack, and we're going to pick 3 songs each: a spin, a shuffle, and a skip. The spin is the one that should properly hold the title. The shuffle is the one that maybe the Intercontinental Champion, and I recognize they didn't have that in WCW, but still, it was prestigious enough. And the skip is your TV champion. Dear God, what made that an actual title? But whatever.
Hey, it's a good idea in theory, and some promotions have done it well. ECW's TV championship was really cool.
I have thoughts, but we're not going down a wrestling. This is not a wrestling podcast. We just happen to be talking about a soundtrack from a wrestling film.
You knew this was going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
You knew this was going to happen when you put me in this chair and you brought in anything wrestling related.
See, every now and then, over the shows and over the time, I found what buttons to push on Lyle to get him to diatribe, and I may like to push those buttons. I may like to stir the a little bit here.
It's easy when it's this, because this is my favorite topic.
We got wrestling, we got rock, and we got a podcast. All right, so Lyle, let's get this party started. What is your spin pick from the Ready to Rumble soundtrack?
Pack it up, pack it in, let me begin. It is Jump Around by House of Pain. Such a great song for anything. For absolutely any hockey, basketball, wrestling, doesn't matter. This is on basically any sports playlist that's ever existed, and there's a reason for it. It's also how I kind of graded this was, okay, if I'm walking to the ring, what song off this playlist do I want playing behind me? And this gets the people going. It was never a question. It's Jump Around, House of Pain.
We're going to get to that question a little bit later, before the end of the show. So be prepared. Be prepared for this one.
I figured when I saw it, yeah.
But when you take a look at the songs on this, there are many that you could very easily see being played, whether it's entrance music or not, at least in the arena during a wrestling show. And yes, some of the songs on here are actually wrestling entrance pieces of music. Jump Around is not that. Jump Around is just freaking awesome.
Yes.
Not any of my picks, though. For me, I like a cover song.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm going to the end of the disc, the second last song on this sucker. And I'm going with the Britney Spears cover, Baby One More Time, as covered by Dweezil and Amit Zappa.
Why did I have a feeling that you were going to find some way to talk about this?
I mean, first of all, anytime you take a pop song and you are able to translate it to another genre, whether it be country, whether it be rock, whether it be whatever the case may be, and if it still sounds good, that speaks volumes about the song itself. genre regardless. There have been a number of times where you hear a song, it's like, it's okay. And then you hear like a rock band cover it, or vice versa. You take a rock song and you turn it into like a quiet ballad, and you're like, wow. Okay, maybe the song was good, and it makes you reevaluate things. And say what you will about the career of Britney Spears, but Baby One More Time actually translates well to different genres. And Dweezil and Ahmet Zappa, while not necessarily the artist you would think of to cover this, they actually bring a lot to this. Now, I mean, I've heard punk versions of Baby One More Time. I've heard hardcore metal versions of Baby One More Time.
I've heard some real growly versions of this.
I will say this might be the best cover recorded of Baby One More Time. That's better than Bowling for Soup's version. That's better than Tenacious D's recent version of Baby One More Time.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I don't think it can beat Jack Black and Kyle Gass. That's the only one I would put it behind, though.
But I will put it on equal footing with a cover done as a quote-unquote Spotify single by Ed Sheeran, who actually did a quiet acoustic version of this song, and it is surprisingly really, really good.
Sorry if you can hear my keyboard, because I'm furiously typing this into my watch later list.
Every now and then when we're doing these episodes, like we'll drop something, and then all of a sudden Lyle's like, I have to pay this. This is literally like Captain America in The Winter Soldier, where it's like, oh, Trouble Man. All right, it's on the list with things to pay.
It is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like whenever you can take a pop song and just twist it into something else, to me, Bad Guy from Billie Eilish is not actually Billie Eilish's song. It belongs to the Interrupters for their ska version of that song. Like, there are songs that belong to other artists because they freaking Alien Ant Farm, taking Michael Jackson, exactly, and turning it into what it is now. Alien Ant Farm is better than Michael Jackson in doing Michael Jackson's own song.
I agree. I would 100% say that version's better than Michael's version.
The holiday season officially starts when you get that first card in the mail. Shutterfly makes it easy to add more meaning to the everyday with hundreds of holiday card designs that can be personalized in seconds with your favorite photos from this year. Select your greeting, customize the color, and even add little extras like personalized foil to make a holiday card that really shines. Enjoy 40% off with code SMILE40 at Shutterfly.com and send something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
Then we get to my shuffle pick. And this was an obvious choice for me, but it's only my shuffle because it's not my favorite song from the band. And I'm going with Last Resort from Papa Roach.
Yeah, great song. A band that's been kind of revolved around wrestling for a very long time. They've done a lot of work for various wrestling projects.
I mean, To Be Loved by Papa Roach was, for the longest time, the theme song for Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely.
And Papa Roach is still freaking going today. They are still putting out new music. They actually took one of their songs and brought in Carrie Underwood to do an acoustic version of the song. And it is fantastic.
It's really good. It's really good. Like their namesake, They Simply Will Not Die.
Yeah. I mean, yes, you can make all the puns about cut my slice into pieces. This is my plastic fork. But Last
Also,
Resort,
a great song. Exactly.
Yes.
That's also a really good song.
but put this into perspective. Last Resort was released. I shudder to do the math, but I'm going to do the math. Very shortly around this time, 2000. So this song, 24 years old. 20 freaking 4 years old. I will tell you, it would not be my only one song when the day comes to do a Papa Roach episode. And if I'm giving you, our dear listeners, a little bit of inside baseball, be prepared, because we are currently in the process of preparing a Papa Roach episode for There Can Only Be One, because this is actually my youngest son's favorite band, and he's going to be on the show.
Papa Roach is his favorite band.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. What a cool pick.
Right? So that episode is actually being prepared as we speak for There Can Only Be One. So if you like the Papa Roach, you're going to be in for a good time. But now, Lyle, over to you for your shuffle pick.
My shuffle pick is also a strange one, and probably not one you would expect from me, but I have both seen this person live, met them in person at my radio station, and listened to a live set they did at the studio, and it was fantastic. It is We're Not Gonna Take It by Biff Naked. Biff Naked is awesome, and I know a lot of people are probably shaking their hands going, who is Biff Naked? Look her up. Fantastic.
I will say that Biff Naked has some of the best Canadian rock out there. Yep. I mean, while her biggest song, Spaceman, is not necessarily my favorite, and that album that it comes off of, it wouldn't even be my pick off that album. But it is, she is fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic. By the way, the album is called Ibificus, and I will tell you right now, Lucky would be my pick off of that album.
Fantastic song. You know, really cool person. Really cool person. That goes a long way too. So it's nice to know that when you listen to music and it's really good, and you meet them in real life, they're nice people as well.
And the fact that she has a brand spanking new album in 2024, still going, still rocking, Biff Naked, that's awesome. And this cover is so much fun.
Does a great job, lends her voice very well. But I think that, and I was thinking about this as I was listening to it, I think that Dee Snider's vocals are lent well and can be covered well by a female artist.
Yes.
I think he's got that pitch range where a lot of female artists could really nail some of the Twisted Sister songs.
But it's got to be someone who can put a little bit of growl to the voice. Like, I could have pictured Tara Sloan from Joy Drop doing a Twisted Sister cover.
Yes, I can also see Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless, also known as Cindy Lou Who from the live-action Grinch movie. I could see her doing something and it being very, very great too.
Oh, I mean, The Pretty Reckless, having seen them live, they are fantastic. Let me tell you a little story about The Pretty Reckless, the time I got to see them live. So I and my wife, my lovely wife, Carrie, have frequently gone down to Columbus, Ohio for Rock on the Range, which is now called Sonic Temple. And we had tickets to go to Rock on the Range one year. And the Thursday we get up, we're getting ready to do the drive, and Soundgarden was supposed to be the headliners for the Friday night.
Ooh, Soundgarden.
The Wednesday prior to us leaving for Rock on the Range was the night that Chris Cornell died.
Oh my goodness, really, Jason?
The Pretty Reckless were opening for Soundgarden on that tour. Soundgarden were supposed to headline the Friday night, and The Pretty Reckless was scheduled to perform on the Sunday. So everyone was still reeling from the death of Chris Cornell. And The Pretty Reckless finished their set with just Taylor Momsen and her guitarist doing a very slow acoustic version of Like a Stone from Audio Slave.
And I bet you it was something else.
Yeah, I don't know how she got through that performance. And I mean, there were artists that were doing songs and dedicating them to Chris Cornell. I know Alter Bridge did that when they did Blackbird, but that was a gut punch. And you know, it was very much like the song was over and she went right off stage, and understandably so. And it's one of those concert moments that I don't know if I'm ever going to forget, because it was just like, picture the Columbus Crew Stadium just in utter silence watching this. Like, you go to a rock concert, especially one where you can have like 75,000 people there and it's going to get loud. You could have heard a pin drop in the crowd.
That's crazy. That's a crazy story. Like, what? That's like music history, basically. Like, that's, you guys were on your way there, because like it would be an absolute dream to see Soundgarden live. Like, that'd be crazy. So to know that you guys were like en route when that happened, that's wild.
Yeah, no, it was a heartbreaking performance. But yeah, no, Taylor Momsen could have easily done a Twisted Sister song. And even now, today, I would say a group like Hailstorm or Diamante would kill a Twisted Sister song.
I think Taylor Momsen and both her and Hailstorm, they could cover damn near anything and make it good. Two bands that are just criminally underrated.
All right, well, now it's time for your skip pick.
Yes, and this one was a weird one, because I forgot this song existed, quite honestly. My skip is We Will Rock You by DJ Hurricane. What is this? Like, this stopped me dead. For the most part, of course, including it was very difficult not to put one of the wrestler theme songs as my top pick, but the other ones were so good that I'm like, okay, we'll put those as defaults. I don't know. It just didn't resonate with me. I don't know what it's doing here. It was the outlier on the album for me, and I just couldn't get through it even. Like, halfway through the song, I'm just like, can this one be over now, please?
This song, and before I even get into this, yes, it's my skip pick as well.
Perfect. I'm so glad we're on the same page.
DJ Hurricane and Scott Weiland doing We Will Rock You. And it's not like We Will Rock You is a hard song to do. Boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap.
And that's what I have written down next to it. How do you screw this up?
But I don't know if there is a song that has consistently been horribly covered than this one. And I'm just going to list some of the versions for you that stand out in my mind. Britney Spears, Beyonce, and Pink.
Yep.
Warrant did a cover of this. It's not good.
I can imagine.
And then you got this, but you also have covers by, and I'm just going through a list here. LA Guns. Okay. No problem. Snoop Dogg did a cover of We Will Rock You.
That I did not know. That is very interesting. 1 second. Sorry for the keyboard noises again, everybody.
Starts typing it down. Nickelback, of course, has done one. Robbie Williams has done one. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like, and I get it. It's a very influential song. It's at this point, it's almost like ingrained itself into movie history, kind of, for being like, you know, everybody knows it. Kids know it. Grown adults know it. But how do you mess this up? It's so simple. It's so color by numbers at this point in the game. Why would you try to reinvent the wheel this hard? Like,
I mean, I remember playing a show with my band, and the power went out in the town that we were playing in. No power, no lights. Drums don't need microphones, though. So we got the entire bar singing We Will Rock You with just drums and everyone singing. That's all you need. Boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap.
People want to get into this. Like, this is something that's hard to screw up, because when people hear that first opening, doom, 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 they're in. You have everybody. They've already bought and punched their ticket. We know what to do. We know the steps. Like, everybody knows what they're getting into. Why change it to this degree? Especially when something closer to the original version would be so perfect for what you're trying to do. It's a wrestling movie. anyone could come out to We Will Rock You, and it's the easiest fan engagement you'll ever get in your life.
Yes. By the way, if you are listening to the song and when the song is done, the first thing in your mind is not, I've paid my dues.
Yeah.
Then you're doing the song wrong. Lyle, thank you so much for this. Now, please remind our listeners what your spin, shuffle, and skip picks are from the Ready to Rumble soundtrack.
This one was very easy because my spin is Jump Around by House of Pain. My shuffle is We're Not Gonna Take It by Biff Naked. And my skip, We Will Rock You by DJ Hurricane.
And my spin is Baby One More Time by Ahmed Zappa and Dweezil Zappa. My shuffle is Last Resort from Papa Roach. And my skip is also We Will Rock You from DJ Hurricane and Scott Weiland. Lyle, thank you so much. And yes, we are reserving Ready to Rumble for you over on It's Not That Bad because, the movie qualifies. Please let our listeners know what you're up to over on AM 640 Toronto.
I am on the Let's Talk with Danny Stover show, 7 to 10 every night on the AM dial if you're anywhere close to us in the great city of Toronto. If you're not, the iHeartRadio app is where you can find us. We talk all about Canadian news, pop culture, whatever your slice of life is. We've got something for you, and a podcast version's coming up really soon, too.
See, this was tailor-made for you because we got wrestling talk, we got music talk. But before we go, I'm going to ask you a question now.
Oh, goodness.
Lyle Robichaud is a wrestler. What's your entrance music?
Lyle Robichaud was a wrestler for 3 years, if you remember, back in the Maritimes, and I was part of a tag team called The Security. So we worked at the door at the events, and then what would happen is, spoiler alert, wrestling may not be as legitimate of a contest as you think.
Wait, what?
The heels would come out, the bad guys would come out to the ring and, do their thing. No one can beat us, blah, blah, blah. So then me and my security partner would be like, oh, well, we'll take you. Like, we'll wrestle you. And then we'd either win or we lose or whoever it would go on that evening. We didn't have a theme song then, but I always said if I was going to do a theme song, it would be Big Gun by AC/DC.
That's a good pick.
Because it's not really one of their biggest hits. It's on the backtracks. It was something that didn't come out and didn't hit it really big. But just that, and then you got to pause, so give the fans time to pop, and then through the curtain you go.
Last Action Hero soundtrack for the win on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I've thought about this. I've thought about this, and while my physique is definitely not wrestler worthy, I will admit that I'm not working on a 6-pack. I am working on a keg. But
you say that, sir, but Mick Foley is in the Hall of Fame.
I have socks. I have socks and markers. I'm ready to go.
But are you willing to lose an ear in Japan and jump on barbed wire?
Well, by barbed wire mean do an episode on the Pamela Anderson film, then yes, sure, no problem. But I have thought about this. So, dear listeners, imagine, if you will, about to enter the ring. The lights go down. Like pitch black. And of course, everyone's got their little cell phones, and that's okay. But FOMA from the Nixons. Because
yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Because the song starts with lies, and it's like, and then all of a sudden the lights go up when the drums kick in, and it's like boom, the explosions go, and there I am, and people are like, oh, it's him, and then they run for the doors.
That's hilarious. My honorable mention has always been, and I can't believe no one's used it as a wrestling theme, because sometimes people get lucky and get licensed songs. Sting's used to be Seek and Destroy by Metallica, actually. Awesome. But Fear of the Dark by Iron Maiden.
Ooh, that would be a good
Because right
one.
when he goes, he's done the spoken word part at the beginning, Fear of the Dark, then out you go.
Yeah, but that's one of the ones where you have to like start in like the rafters.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's more like an Undertaker character. It's got to be a supernatural thing. I've put too much thought I have put into this, most likely.
And now I have this like in my head. I have a phobia that something's always there.
Right? And then bang, and then the lights go out, and when they come back on, just like you said, the person's standing there. I'll fire back a question for you then.
Uh-oh.
Because I know you've watched enough wrestling to have an opinion. What's your favorite wrestling theme song?
Okay. So if I'm talking about more modern era wrestling, then I'm probably leaning more towards like classic Undertaker kind of thing. Like, the bong,
Graveyard Symphony, Jim Johnson.
But I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Here Comes the Axe, Here Comes the Smash.
Wow,
the Demolition's
theme song
coming to get you.
That's awesome. That's a great pick. That's a fantastic pick. I think it's probably both musically because it's a fantastic guitar arrangement. Bret Hart's.
Yes.
Like the big walk back down the neck, and then just the drive, like really good, really good.
Although, the game from Motorhead could also be put right up there as well.
Yeah, that's Triple H has fantastic taste in music.
Yes. Well, it's Lemmy. You can't go wrong with Lemmy.
Can't go wrong with our Lord and Savior.
Yes. The age-old question, Lemmy and God get into a fight. Who wins? Trick question, Lemmy is God.
He is God.
All right, Lyle, thank you so much for this. And dear listeners, now that we've diatribed here, you guys know the drill. If there's an album that you want us to cover on Spin Shuffle Skip, or an artist that you want us to cover on There Can Only Be One, hit us up on social media at OnlyOneCast, or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, drop us a line. I want to know what your wrestling entrance song would be if given the choice. Drop us a line. We want to hear from you guys. Until next time, he's Lyle. I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Spin Shuffle Skip on the There Can Only Be One podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.